Hello, and welcome to our First Glance Los Angeles Film Festival 2021 Shift to Virtual panel. We're so excited to be hosting this. I'm Cindy Maram with Dig In Magazine, and we are a sponsor and partner of First Glance. And we're really excited to have some special guest speakers here with us today for this panel. So first of all, I just want to explain, what we're going to be discussing, and then I'll go around and basically give a little short introduction with everyone on the panel, and then they can interject as well. But basically, we've been going through a really interesting time with the global pandemic, as all of us have been deep into this, and everybody's been reacting, responding, and dealing with it in very different ways. And especially in a significant way for the film industry, for the Hollywood and the independent film industry. And, it's been some challenging times for everyone in the film industry, but there's also been some real breakthroughs, So we're going to talk a little bit about that and about this forced adjustment to a predominantly virtual format, and it's drastically changed the way audiences consume movies and how filmmakers are distributing and releasing their films, as well as we really seen a rise in dominance of streamers in the Hollywood film industry, such as Netflix and some of the other streamers. And it's been really interesting to see what film festivals and other entertainment-related organizations have been doing to remain relevant. So I'm just really thrilled to have these brilliant women, all great friends of mine. They've been so wonderful to join me. We have Olia, Oparina, and Anya. They are the filmmakers behind I Am Normal short film. It's an official selection of First Glance Film Festival Los Angeles. And it is nominated for an award. Olia is nominated for Best Director Award, and there will be an award ceremony tomorrow evening at the NoHo 7 Theater in North Hollywood. So we're rooting for you. Olia, I'm also rooting for you, Anya. It's a wonderful film. I just watched it. We also have Natalie Metzger. Natalie is joining us. Actually, yes, she is joining us from Oregon right now. So we're so thrilled to have her. I met Natalie back actually early on when the pandemic had just started, and we were on a panel together for another Friends film festival. So that was really cool, and it's been great getting to know her over time. And Natalie's a Spirit Award nominated producer. Her credits include Werewolves Within, the beta test, which will be premiering at Tribeca and Berlinelli, The Wolf of Snow Hollow at Fantastic Fest. And she is also the producer behind Thunder Road that won the Grand Jury Award at South by Southwest. We also have the lovely Natasha Marberger. Natasha and I, hi Natasha, welcome. Thank you so much to Natasha. She's coming to us from the UK and in London right now, so it's pretty late at night, so we're so grateful to have her here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Natasha and I have collaborated quite a bit over the last few months. She is the festival director of London Independent Film Festival, as well as the co-founder of Los Angeles International Film Festival that was launched successfully in 2020. She's also the co-director of Cine Excess, which is genre film festival, as well as a label. And she's also a producer who's made a number of films, a feature that was titled Hotspot, that was completed in April 2013 and premiered at London Independent Film Festival. And following it secured a sales deal and was distributed online. And she also produced a second feature, We Too, and also a number of other shorts. And I remember that she recently produced a short during the pandemic that you can talk about a little later. So ladies, thank you so much. And I'll just, give you a little opportunity if you want to go around and, you know, I don't know if I missed anything, if you want to talk about maybe, you know, some highlights about what you're doing now, and, you know, how you've just initially like adjusted to the pandemic, and how you've really just kept your careers going. So we could start with maybe Olia.
Yeah, before we do that, can you please let Anya back in? Some technical.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, we're in.
Yeah, I was just, I just wanted us to kind of go around the room and talk about, you know, what we've been working on, and like how we first reacted to the pandemic, and how we've been able to adjust, and, you know, kept our film projects going and our careers going. So maybe maybe just go around, yeah, Olia, and then Natasha, Anya, and Natalie.
So to me, I guess COVID offered a new perspective on what's important. And I kept putting off some things. And that was the time when I had to catch up on my art and everything that I wanted to do for such a long time, but just it was never a good time for it. Like finishing my website, making my reel. I'm normal that it was shot, but it took forever to edit. So we finished that. We developed the marketing strategy, the festival strategy. We did the promotion. I started writing a feature film screenplays through Sundance Collab. And I also got into the program that's called the Future Directors of Studio Features through the Black Magic Collective. And even though our meetings were Zoom, like all online, but it kind of gave us an opportunity to meet people that wouldn't necessarily want to meet, don't have time to meet in person, like studio executives and producers, and just people all over the world. It was like, it created this new environment and the ability to meet everyone basically from anywhere. So that was
great. Yeah, that sounds like an amazing program, and I know it was very selective, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's really cool. So how about you, Natasha?
Hi. Yeah, for me, I feel that suddenly everything was different. So there were lots of opportunities, like Olia just said. There's so many more things that we're able to do. Like we're able to have this panel, all of us together, even though we're in different places. So there's a lot of opportunities that have happened. And for me personally, it's been challenging organising both the London Independent Film Festival and the LA International Film Festival through the year of the pandemic, and making sure that it was a festival more than anything, really building community and connecting people with each other, making sure the filmmakers had a great experience and opportunities to meet. So that was really important. And on a production side, I think things have really been different over the last year. I was able to produce a couple of projects just over Zoom with a really minimal crew. So it was possible to do that as well. And yeah, things are starting to happen, but obviously with restrictions in the UK, we're just kind of coming out of lockdown with different regulations in place. So it's been all about adapting for me mostly.
Right. And I think when I was introducing I Am Normal, I didn't mention that about Anya, that she's the writer for I Am Normal, and she's also a producer and actress in the film. So yeah, how about for you, Anya?
Well, much like everybody else, I freaked out at first. I'm like, so what am I gonna do? But then, just like Olia said, I realized that there are so many other things that I can work on at the time. And I found time also to do my website, to finish projects that I didn't have time to finish. And also I really started working on my writing, and I've written 2 TV pilots, and we had time to finish I'm Normal, and then started submitting it to the festivals. And also, although the personal element right now is kind of gone, as far as we'll do everything online. At the same time, what's good about it, that people can watch your movie from everywhere, and you can, it made us a little further apart, but also closer at the same time. That's what I found out. And also, I've recently written I'm Normal feature that we're trying to make a feature out of it. So.
Oh, that's great. That's
yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, and Natalie, I know you know, we've connected earlier. You were mentioning that you know, you're doing the Eastern Oregon Film Residency, and you were one of 6 filmmakers selected to develop a new project as part of a 4-week residency in May. And you know, if you could kind of tell me like how, you know, how you got into that, and like you know, you've had so many projects. I mean, you know, I watch you like with all posting all your announcements for all your films, and I mean, you know, your production company Vanishing Angle has really continued to produce so many amazing films. And I know we did an interview for Beast with Jim Cummings that had an initial release on Tubi, and then you know, you continued releasing more and more films, and you know, you have the beta test coming up, so that's really amazing, and congratulations on that. So if you could kind of like tell us like initially like what was your response to the pandemic, and how did you make your adjustments to continue growing in terms of like your film projects and what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I was very, very lucky with the pandemic. We were filming a movie called Werewolves Within. We partnered with Ubisoft, the video game company, for that film. We were filming that in upstate New York from January 5th through March 10th of last year. So we wrapped just days before they announced the global pandemic and lockdown. So we were all able to like wrap the film, get back to our, you know, places. You know, I'm based in Los Angeles normally. And so we were able to do all of post-production remotely, which was so amazing that we just happened to be able to like finish the part that you can't do remotely, you know, the principal photography. And then we did, you know, all of post remote. We didn't actually meet the editor until the final sound mix. But we were able to complete that on time and still, you know, get it ready to premiere. And so it's actually going to be premiering at Tribeca next month as well. And so that kind of took up a lot of the majority of 2020 for me. And then a lot of projects in development. And then we started shooting again this year, which has been, you know, like really great. It was a bit tough at the beginning of just all the protocols, and like people were really nervous, but I produced a climate change PSA, and then did a kind of sci-fi series in New Orleans. And as people were starting to get vaccinated, it was really cool to see that there was, you know, at first it was very, you know, everyone kept their distance, and it was like, you know, like obviously everyone was masked, but there was just like that anxiety started to go away as people started to get vaccinated. And so you felt just a little bit more of that communal energy that I think we all feel on set, that that was, you know, lost obviously during the pandemic, but it's starting to get back. And now being part of this this filmmaker residency, so I went pretty much straight from New Orleans up here for this 4-week filmmaker residency to develop a new project. And that's been really, really amazing, of just having 4 weeks dedicated to writing and working on something new. So yeah, so I was very lucky with just the timing happened to work out with this one production that we were able to be in post for the majority of the pandemic with that, and then pick right back up as soon as production started again.
Oh, wow. That's really good to know that things are starting to ease up a little bit and people are starting to feel more comfortable. And yeah, and hopefully, you know, that momentum will keep growing. So, and I know, Anya, you've been recently on set too, producing, and how was that?
Yesterday.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yesterday. How was that?
It was good. So, because I'm also producing and production managing projects. So, like 5 months ago, it was still pretty bad as far as, you know, the production could get shut down in a blink of an eye, and then if you have a COVID case or whatever, people were really freaking out. So the problem was that the whole COVID thing with testing and the protocol, it raised the budget significantly, because, you know, to do a test, every test is like $140. So multiply that on amount of crew members and cast, and then you have to do every day or every other day. But now, because people are vaccinated, most people are, at least, and I've noticed that people feel way more comfortable. Although, again, we still had to wear masks and maintain the social distancing and, you know, be aware of the situation. It's getting much better. So, and sometimes productions, they give you an option. You either can provide the vaccination card or get tested. So there is still a lot of gray area. For instance, you know, we don't, as the president announced last week, I think, that we don't have to wear a mask outside if we're fully vaccinated. In film, the protocol still says that you have to. So it's like catching up, you know, and I called the health department. I'm like, so do we have to, do we not have to? And they said, no, you still have to maintain everything. And yeah, but it is definitely much more positive. So hopefully, yeah, sooner than later, you know.
That's great. I mean, you know, it sounds like, you know, things are like evolving like all the time, and you kind of have to adjust on the fly, which can be really challenging, especially if, you know, you're trying to like film and, you know, with the crew and with everyone on set. So it's definitely like you have to go with the flow. And, you know, so you guys have all done a really good job with that. And I know, Natasha, you know, you had London Independent Film Festival in April, and, you know, you dealt with having to make a lot of adjustments as, you know, as you're running these festivals. And I was wondering, you know, how did you deal with like, you know, figuring out like, was it going to be virtual or was it going to be hybrid, partly physical, and like, what did you do to like, you know, keep people engaged in terms of like film professionals and movie lovers?
Yeah. So in terms of making the decision to go online, that was, well, we left it as late as possible, but then always kept up to date with the government regulations, and particularly with the London Independent Film Festival, there was just no way that everything was closed at that time. So we had no choice. But rather than not have anything at all, it was obviously better to have something. And for me, it was really important to, like you said, engage people and connect people and create a festival vibe, like an atmosphere of community between people who were watching the films and also the filmmakers as well. So I created different groups on social media, different events on different platforms. It was all a bit of an experiment at times because I hadn't used all the different platforms, and also there had been a lot of changes on those platforms themselves. So yeah, it was a lot of evolving and working out what was possible, and I think we tried our best to work with what was available, and we created a really good atmosphere between our audiences and filmmakers, so that went really well. And I think what's important is to realise that a festival isn't just another platform where you put your film online and then that's it. A festival is so much more than that. A festival is meeting each other, chatting to people about your film, about each other's films, you know, all the other events that go with it. So I think it's really important to try to adapt to what's possible and make the best out of the situation, which is what we did, and, you know, work out what can be done in different places using different platforms. And we had panels as well. We had panels with Dig In. We did one.
Oh yes. We actually launched our IG Live series at London Independent Film Festival. So that was really interesting, and that was really cool to do that. And I think yeah, I think a lot of, you know, you guys can interject, but in terms of like using social media to, you know, get your projects out there, maybe even more than before, have you guys have more of a focus on using social media than prior?
And more time.
Right, that's true.
We've tended to use to like focus our marketing efforts on social media, kind of starting with Thunder Road and like targeted Facebook ads and stuff like that. So we've tended to put more of the resources toward social media, just because we found it to be a lot more effective than kind of the more traditional means anyway. But I think you know, more success that we saw from that, and then also with the pandemic, it just made a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was wondering, you know, regarding like how more movies are or have been released on streaming platforms now. I know, you know, now that theaters starting to open up, you know, there are like short run theatrical releases for movies when they're first premiering. But what do you guys think? Do you think that streaming is still going to remain a predominant way to release movies, or do you believe that we may go back to the theaters? Oh, sure.
Yeah. I mean, who knows really, but I think it's going to be predominantly streaming, because even before the pandemic, people sort of, you know, not stop, but like slow down on going to the theaters, in my opinion. So, and although it's a little unfortunate because the movies are meant to be seen on the big screen, you know, I think we all got very comfortable with sitting on our couch and enjoying, you know, the performances. So I think it's going to be predominantly streaming. So.
What do you think, Olia?
I think the theaters are gonna stay, not as many as it used to be, but I think the charm of it, you just have to have theaters, just for the experience. But I do believe that they are not gonna be as popular as the streaming. And I want to talk for the festival about the festivals. I think it's gonna be both. Like the FirstGlance did it. It's going to be streaming online and it's going to be live. I think it's great because we've been into 8 festivals, and FirstGlance is the only live one. But the other ones, they were in New York, they were in London. Like, I won't be able to go to London, or I probably not going to be able to go to New York. But I will still have that festival experience, and I can go to the panels, and I can talk to other filmmakers. So that makes it possible for me to participate in the festival.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that was one of the really positive things that came out of this situation, is that, you know, we have further reach in terms of like our global audience and just networking and, you know, meeting with other film industry professionals like online. And, you know, rather than having to like, you know, fly to like New York or France or, you know, wherever your destination is for a film festival, you know, we're able to do that from anywhere. And, you know, like I've been able to collaborate, you know, with so many more people, and definitely saved a lot of money on plane tickets. But so, but one thing that's been cool, I think, I mean, I do, you know, kudos to all the film festivals that have kept this going. You know, the ones that have done purely virtual have been really wonderful, but also the ones that have done hybrid festivals. And I know back last October, I attended my first drive-in at the Mill Valley Film Festival. They had a couple of premieres there. And, you know, so that was really cool. And it's nice to see that, you know, things are starting to loosen up and open up a little bit. And the FirstGlance is actually the first festival in LA that's putting on a physical event in LA with a red carpet and things like that. So, you know, I was talking to the festival director just yesterday, Bill Ostroff, and you know, he was, you know, we were discussing about, you know, this whole situation, and basically he was saying that, you know, in terms of like for the film festivals, you know, although we're still able to get an audience virtually, you know, it's just like financially, you know, it isn't as profitable for film festivals to just do a purely virtual festival. But also, you know, it's great to have like, you know, all the filmmakers together, you know, in the venue again, and hopefully in the future, you know, more moviegoers will be going and stuff like that. And you know, I've always been a real champion of film and film festivals. So he didn't think anyone else would show up with the filmmakers, but I did. So, but yeah, so it's really cool. Yeah.
I just wanted to add something real quick about the feature films, the virtual platforms and like festivals that are virtual. You have to watch out for geo-blocking because that may hurt your distribution. So, and for short films, it doesn't matter, but for the feature films, you have to, because there are some festivals who are just showing throughout the states, throughout the country, for a certain amount of time, for like a couple weeks. And there are some who are just putting your film out there, and it's online available. And when you go get it distributed, it's online, it lives online, and so it kind of hurts your chances.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, things can get a little tricky because like not everyone's used to this. So I guess, you know, it's been a real learning curve, you know, for film festivals and for filmmakers. And what would you say for each of you have been like the challenges and like the positive things that have come out of it?
I mean, it's like something that we talk about at Vanishing Angle a lot is that like the pandemic was an accelerant. Like it accelerated things that were already kind of trending to happen in 5 years, but instead it happened in 1 year. And so, you know, I think there was this trend to more virtual platforms, but this just kind of like forced it to all happen. And I think coming out of it, a lot of festivals are going to be continuing to have some kind of virtual component. Like Sundance just announced that it's going to be having a virtual component for their 2022 festival. And I think we'll probably continue to have some, you know, some aspect of that for, you know, continuing on into the future. And a lot of other festivals that I've talked to are going to be doing the same. And I think one of the things that we need to figure out as, you know, as filmmakers is how does that affect distribution, as Olia was saying, because it almost becomes like its own kind of like windowing for like, you know, for the film, but like it's like the first kind of distribution. And so that could be like really great. And like, you know, there are a lot of films that play at big festivals that don't get distribution. And so it is a way for them to kind of get seen by a broader audience. But then I think there has to be some kind of figuring out some kind of revenue share with the filmmaker and the festival so that like the festivals almost become like a distributor in a way, which could work. It just needs to get like figured out because I don't think all the logistics have been figured out yet. But yeah, I mean, I think it has expanded the audience that, you know, could potentially see a film. You know, like people normally have to go to Park City to see a Sundance film, and they didn't have to be there to see them this past year. And so the exposure is so much greater. And we've been seeing the same thing on festivals, just like with like our, you know, we have a weekly writers group that we do at Vanishing Angle, and over the pandemic we opened it up to be virtual. It's, you know, it usually was at our offices, and now it's over Zoom. And it used to be just for people in LA and just for people that were willing to come out there, take the commute to, you know, our offices in Atwater. But now we have people from all over the world joining in for our writers group, and there isn't, you know, the worry about a commute, or, you know, it takes just less time to do. So things are just a little bit more efficient as well, which I think is a positive, and we'll most likely be continuing it virtually moving into the future so that we can have that more global participation.
That's really great. And how do you feel like Hollywood and the independent film industry has done as a whole in terms of like adapting to the change, and like what do you think could be done better?
I mean, I think there have been some really great shakeups, like things that kind of needed to happen. I think the pandemic has diminished slightly the role of gatekeepers. Now that, you can just like set up a Zoom with someone, you don't have to like get into like a physical building, get
That's
past
true.
and so it's like accelerated, I think, also just the fact of technology, the fact of social media, like, with like how we connect, I think has helped boost that through the pandemic. But I think there's just more access and more communication happening, which I think is exciting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how what things continue on into the future. But I think that like there were some positive changes that came out of this. It just depends on whether we're able to maintain them or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as Anya said, we were already moving into that direction where there were lots of platforms, Amazon, YouTube Red, lots of studios that started having their online platforms. And for independent filmmakers, that means that you can go and pitch your project to the platform directly. And there are so many of them, and all of them need content right now. So we are in need, like filmmakers, independent filmmakers, they're needed right now. And as far as the festivals, we had different experiences. I think festivals are still trying to figure out their models, and some of them are interactive and some of them are not yet. So like we had festivals that had festival villages where you can go for a happy hour, you had networking events, you had screenings, you had live screenings, and we had festivals where your film is just playing for a week and you don't really interact with them. So I think everyone is still trying to find their balance. What's the best to do it?
Yeah, and something that's a really big shift that's been very interesting and that's been kind of gaining momentum already over time is like the rise of these big streaming platforms and companies like Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, and things like that. So that's been a really interesting phenomenon that I've been paying a lot of attention to. And just to like shift our focus to the streamers a little bit, I recently read an article in October from Forbes, and I just want to read a quote really quickly. It's the title of the article was it was about Netflix's earnings, and the title of the article is 5 Big Numbers That Show Netflix's Massive Growth Continues During the Coronavirus Pandemic. And what the writer said was, and I'm going to quote the writer, the firm's billionaire co-founder and CEO, Reed Hastings, has gotten nearly $2 billion during the pandemic. The 60-year-old who launched Netflix as a DVD subscription service in 1997 and owns roughly 1% of its shares is now worth about $5.4 billion, and Netflix is up nearly $100 billion in 2020 alone, making the 23-year-old streaming giant one of the 20 largest companies on the S&P 500 by market cap, ahead of even media mainstays like Walt Disney, Comcast, and AT&T. So I've been following it, and I thought that it's just like, it's really amazing. It's so crazy how Netflix has become like, so it has grown into like a distributor, and like, so has grown so much from being what it was when it first started. And, along with the other streamers that are popping up, and, and even, Fox's Tubi, that Fox acquired Tubi a while back, that Beast had the release on, and also, newer ones are popping up like Paramount Plus, and I'm sure that others will be popping up. And, what do you think is the future of these streamers? I don't know, any of you can interject. I mean, do you think it's going to take over? Do you think, it already has, of course, taken over in terms of like dominance, and, because before it was like more of like the traditional studios that were really, running things and had the most power. Now it's shifted to these streaming platforms. And of course now the biggest, they have the biggest audience because the theaters are closed and stuff like that. But and and the studios are partnering with them. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think they will just continue to grow. I can't remember the exact statistics, but I was tutoring my web series course, and the numbers of the subscriptions obviously just increased massively during the pandemic. But then when the lockdown eased in some places, not all of those people cancelled those subscriptions. So it's just going to keep growing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I also think that the platforms that will cater to a younger audience, they will be very successful. And I think, even like Snapchat, like everybody has their own thing going. So I think we will have a lot more of those platforms. So that, especially because attention span of the audience is very short and it's getting shorter, I figured. That makes me think that the shorter content, such as, like 1 minute film or whatever, I think they will also be popular in the future, and the platforms that provide that. So
that's what we have right now on Facebook, right? 30-second documentaries, is it? Have you seen it?
I don't know. Is it? No.
Or they call 30-second documentaries. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love those. But I think also, I'm sorry, no one interrupted you. Because I always do that.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. It's okay.
No, I want to talk to the genre-oriented platforms like Shudder and Dust, and I think they're going to be more of those, and they let filmmakers create and grow their fan base, and also they have different programs, like they have different short film contests. Like Dust has one where you can submit your short film and win money to make it, and they will put it on their platform. So I think there will be more of those for sure.
Yeah, I mean the streamers are essentially like the new studios. They are the new like big five, and I think like along with that, we're going to see the same kind of splintering that we saw with like the studios and with like cable of all of these additional kind of like niche things. And now we're starting to see, and I think this will be like moving forward into the future, more bundling where, you can get this service, and this service, all combined for like a cheaper price. It'll be just like our old cable packages, but with the streamers. Cause I think that's the only way for them to kind of survive and for these more niche platforms to survive as well. Because, eventually people are going to have too many subscriptions, they're going to have 6 different things that they're subscribed to. And so those things are just going to start to get bundled. But yeah, I mean, I think the streamers are definitely, they are the new giants. They are here to stay. I think, just even five years ago, if you talk to some filmmakers, they were like, no, I don't want to, have Netflix acquire my film because I want to play in a theater. But now that you have filmmakers like Scorsese making, films for like the streamers, when you have like Cuarón making films for the streamers, like you have these like heavy hitters that are considered kind of the premier directors for cinema. And when they are embracing the streamers, I think everyone has now shifted. And I think also the exposure level that you can get with the streamer is just so much more than like, just like your average film in a theater, except for something like a Marvel movie. But yeah, and I think, filmmakers want their films to be seen. And I think it's getting harder and harder for indie filmmakers to get their films seen. And so streamers are actually like a way to do that, and in a way, but also the streamers are now moving more and more towards bigger studio budgets instead of indie budgets. And so I think we're going to have that gap a little bit again, and we're going to be seeing more of that gap of, Netflix is funding $20 million and up, but what are those smaller indie budgets? How are they getting made? And so that I think is what we'll need to figure out in the next few years. And I think could be an exciting place for new companies to grow.
That's interesting. And for Natalie, again, I wanted to ask you about, like, you know, in terms of like the films that, you know, you're behind and you produce, like, you know, I know you guys focus a lot on the festival runs and things like that. And then you've also, you know, you have your releases, like, like before, what was your, like your process in terms of, like, you know, once you get a film ready and it's like, you know, ready to go, ready to premiere, like, what did you do before? Like, were you doing as many film festival releases and premieres as you were? I mean, initially, were you doing all of that and then doing the theatrical releases, or like now, are you focusing more on the film festival, releasing at the film festivals, and then releasing on a streamer? I'm wondering, like, what your process is.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely been changing as you know, both the industry has been changing and as well because, you know, because of the pandemic. Our older model tended to be, we made the film, we did a big kind of festival release, and, you know, used that big festival premiere to gain the buzz and attention, to, you know, gain the interest of a distributor, and then brought a distributor on after the festival premiere. But that has been changing for us recently. Of you know, the past like 3 or 4 films, we have now been bringing on our distributor before having our big festival premiere, and, you know, part of that is just because, like, the festival model was obviously so different during the pandemic that we wanted to kind of like lock in our distributor and then work with them to figure out what is our festival strategy, if we have a festival strategy, you know, all of those kind of, you know, questions. And I think we're probably going to be doing a lot more of that in the future, of going to distributors before, but like before the festivals. But it definitely is, you know, like potentially a problem area for more emerging filmmakers who might not have those connections to those distributors yet, who really need the festivals to even get connected to the distributors. And so I think there's going to be like a little bit of a gap there that needs to be figured out. But yeah, we've been now starting to go to distributors first, or also starting to self-distribute, like we did with Thunder Road and now East.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting, and just something that I thought about in terms of like the new format of you know, what filmmakers, like what distribution companies are doing in relation to the streamers. You know, so Disney Plus, I guess you guys might remember, like a while back, you know, they would have like a premiere, right, on their streaming platform that people would actually pay for, you know, to see that premiere and to attend that premiere, you know, as if it was like a real premiere in that certain block of time. So I thought that was a, you know, kind of an interesting way to do it. And, you know, I wonder, you know, if there'll be more of that, or, you know, I guess like the streaming platforms and everybody is trying to think of like really smart and innovative ways to like get audiences' attention and to still keep things going. So, you know, I found that really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the order of how films are released, I think, is going to be completely different. I mean, with Beast, you know, we kind of like changed the order of everything, where we did educational first, working directly with, you know, with Canopy to, you know, release individually at different universities for college students, almost like in the old school kind of college tour kind of way. And then we released on Tubi, which is AVOD, and normally your AVOD comes after your TVOD and your SVOD, but like we did AVOD then, and then we did theaters, and now we're on TVOD. And so we literally like mix up the entire order. And like so far it's actually been really successful. And I think a lot of the fears of like, oh, we don't want to go on AVOD before going to a theater because then theaters like won't play you. So far we haven't been seeing that. And that might be just specifically because of the pandemic, because everything's a little bit shaken up. But I'd be curious to know, like, if that continues, and if, you know, like to like experiment with, you know, well, what if we tried this? Like, how do audiences respond? How do theaters respond?
Right. I mean, I definitely think it's an experimentation period for everyone. And it kind of seems like, I mean, you know, people aren't really afraid to try these new things because we kind of have to just like dip our toes in the water and like see what happens, you know, and see like what the audience reaction will be and like how the market reacts and things like that. So, but yeah, I wanted to talk to Natasha a little bit about the short that you made during the pandemic. And you know, I did see that short. It was really early on, I remember, and I was wondering. There's been a lot. There's been a number of movies that have been made that are focused on like quarantine and pandemic. I mean, I've seen some on Netflix with some, you know, some big stars. I think Anne Hathaway was in one of them. I don't know if you saw that one, but you know, they're all very interesting because they're, you know, the whole thing is filmed, you know, inside one apartment or home or one room or something like that. And Natasha, you know, that was really cool. I mean, you came out with something so soon, right when the pandemic had started. And why was it important to you to produce something at that time and, you know, about that subject matter?
So we wanted to adapt and keep making stuff, as well as redesign websites to adapt to online strategies and everything else. I thought, well, let's just keep producing what could we make. And I spoke to a writer friend of mine who put some stuff together. We had some ideas, and we wanted to promote staying at home and staying safe. So the short we made, physical distancing, it was to encourage people to stay at home, and we worked together with, we partnered in the end with Supporting Older People, which was a charity to encourage people to keep the older generation safe. So it was a Zoom conversation between two people. One was in home in a care home, and the way we did it was we had the director was speaking to the actors on the phone, and then they recorded themselves on Zoom and sent us the footage, and we put it together. So they were responsible for all the production design, makeup, everything like that, and then the director gave direction as to what he wanted to do with it, but then they ultimately created everything themselves. The actors were part of the crew, and then we just put everything together in the end. So that's how it came about. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess it's just been really interesting, you know, because it's been kind of cool that you know, how the industry has reacted with these types of projects, because you know, there's been shorts and some features about them. So you know, just being in quarantine, and you know, I'm sure there's going to be other ones that pop up. You know, and then there's been like you know, some documentaries, of course, that have come out about the whole you know, the coronavirus pandemic and everything like that. And you know, as everybody is trying to like figure out exactly what has happened. So it's been a really interesting time. But just shifting gears, I was wondering, did any of you tune in to the Academy Awards, the virtual Academy Awards this last time?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys watch it, or?
I was on set, so I couldn't.
You just heard about it after you heard the winners.
I jumped up and down when I looked online and saw that Chloe Zhao won.
Oh yeah,
and everyone on set thought that I was crazy. They're like, "What's happening?"
I don't think you were the only one. Yeah, I think a lot of people were jumping up and down. But yeah, speaking of Chloe Zhao, you know, so myself and for Dig-In Magazine, we were working with the Academy Awards this year as, you know, media for the Academy, and we were kind of tuning in. It was virtual, so it was kind of interesting. We were kind of all on a Zoom. There was all of us, I don't know, maybe like 600 journalists on a Zoom, and we were in the interview room with all the winners. So that was really interesting. And then, so Natalie, you spoke of Chloe Zhao, and there from her big win, her Best Director win, and also Nomadland, winning Best Picture, which all of that is just, it's really a really amazing thing. And there's been a lot of talk recently about breaking the glass ceiling for female directors, actually, Olia and I recently had a little conversation about that I want to touch on a bit. But in that interview room, there was actually a Turkish media outlet that asked Chloe a question. She's holding her Oscar and everything like that, and she asked her, Chloe, how did you find being a woman in 2021? How has the definition of being a woman changed? And the way she responded was, has the definition of being a woman changed? Probably not, but it's pretty fabulous to be a woman in 2021. So yeah, and so that was the night of her Oscars win. And so what do you guys think of her comment? I mean, do you think it's pretty cool being a woman in 2021? Or I want to know what you guys think about being female filmmakers, and for directors in the female directors in the independent film industry, is also Hollywood film industry. And just starting with Olia, because we had just had a little chat about that, and you were saying that it's a little tricky right now. It's a great thing that there are more women directors, but you're kind of giving me the other side of that, if you wanted to expand on that.
First of all, I want to apologize if I'm going to log out because I'm losing my power.
Oh, did you log out?
But I'll try to be quick. I think I'm happy that there are more programs and labs for women, and women are more welcomed into the industry. But there is also a shift towards, it's not enough to be a woman anymore. You have to be a woman of color. So for me, I mean, I know the white male is at the bottom of the barrel right now, and then comes the white woman, So that's how I feel. There was a short window. I feel like there was a short window where all the female directors were filmmakers were welcomed, and then it stopped, and now they are looking for directors of color, female directors of color. But that's just my feeling. Maybe it will change again.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there is a rise, in diversity in the Hollywood film industry, which I think is all very important, because, I'm a big champion of diversity inclusion in the film industry, and also, but even being women, women are, we are considered part of the underrepresented group in the film industry. So, and I was wondering, what do you think needs to change, in order for like female directors to be as numbered as their male counterparts?
I mean, go ahead, Natasha.
I was just going to agree with what Olia was saying about how there are initiatives that we're going in the right direction, but I think it's such a slow move in the right direction. And I think there's on a local, on a smaller scale, what we can all do to help each other. But on a bigger scale, we need financiers to be backing this. We need all the festivals that have a 50-50 incentive are great, because it gets us a step further.
Yeah. Natalie, did you want to?
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar of that. That like the programs are in place. It just like it seems like it's like a little bit of a time thing in order for us to actually get like those numbers equal. And so it seems just about like accelerating those programs as much as possible, because it feels like in general there is an awareness, there are programs in place, and so the like foundation is there. But yeah, I think it's going to still take some time for us to actually get to that 50-50 mark.
Yeah, but I think like 5 to 10 years from now, things will be very different. And you absolutely agree. Yeah, just because it only recently started, right? So just like anything else, yeah, needs to be more time. And then we won't even remember the time that was before, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
That's great. And, you know, all of you guys, you know, are very active. All of you are prolific filmmakers. And, you know, it sounds like you have a lot of projects in the works. You know, can you share a little bit about what's coming in the future in regards to like your future projects and your plans for them? And, you know, in this kind of, I guess, kind of like experimental time. Let's see, we could start with Natasha, maybe.
So at the moment, I'm producing a short film with Sharon Tyson. We're in production at the moment, shooting in July. And the film is about Lillian Barder, who was one of the first Black women to be in the British Armed Forces. In the Second World War, she was one of the first. And the idea is to promote diversity and raise awareness. So we're shooting that at the end of July. So that's what I'm working on mostly at the moment. I'm also developing a feature with Olia as her next project. So we're working on that at the moment. And then the next festival, which is the LA International Film Festival, that's in November. So hopefully we can be in LA with you.
That would be great. Awesome. We could just go around, maybe Olia, then Natalie, and then Anya.
So I'm actually really grateful for that program that I'm in right now. We will start having pitching sessions in June, and I have 4 projects, including I'm Normal as a feature film, to pitch
nice.
For potential financing. I also have 2 other feature screenplays, both of them are folklore thrillers.
Oh wow. Great.
Yeah, and I'm in post-production on this sci-fi series that we shot in New Orleans last month. And so that'll be coming out probably beginning of next year. And then we just got 2 more features greenlit for later this year. So I'll be diving into those, making those in different parts of the country. And then my feature script Immortal, which is one of the ones that I was working on during this residency, we're going to start taking it out to cast and getting that ready to go to shoot next year.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Good luck with that, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so like Olia said, and I wrote the first draft of I'm Normal feature, so it needs like 20 more drafts, and we're going to be actively pitching it in the next few months, and so hopefully we'll get the financing sooner than later. But I have no doubt that we're going to, given how well the short is doing and how people react to it, and because of the message and the idea about the mental health issues and whatnot, I feel like we're definitely going to make the feature, which is very exciting. And also I wrote the 2 TV pilots that I'm also pitching at the moment. So fingers crossed.
That's great. Oh my gosh, you guys are all so busy. I feel like I haven't done much. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's so not true.
Honestly, I've been making plans to like interview all of you, so I'm pretty busy.
You're busy.
Yeah, I'm very busy. But yeah, so anyways, thank you so much to all of you guys, Natasha, Natalie, Olia, and Anya. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining us here in Dig In Magazine and First Glance Film Festival. I'm so glad that you guys were able to attend and be a part of Shift to Virtual. And best of luck with all of your projects, and looking forward to seeing everything when they're released. So, First Glance is still going on for one more day physically, in North Hollywood at NoHo 7. So, in the award ceremony is tomorrow night, and Anya and Olia and I will be present. And yeah, just follow us on social media at Dig In Mag, and for updates, as well as follow First Glance on Twitter for updates as well. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Cindy. And ladies, good luck to you. Best of luck.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.